14th meeting of the Lee County Board of Education. Certainly want to welcome all of our guests here. It's a real pleasure to see our children here. It's always a pleasure to have our students come to our board meetings. We have some guests I'd like to recognize. Way in the back is Commissioner Parks. Glad you're here, Mr. Parks. Margaret Murchison is on the front. Margaret, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Will Dorn from the Sanford Herald, welcome. Emily Grimes, representing our military students. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Now, if you'll join me in a moment of silence as we reflect on the activities of the day, please. Thank you very much. And now if you'll stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now move on to public comments. I would like to remind our public commenters that they're allowed 3 minutes, and we will abide by the policies that govern public comments. Angie Clark.
My name is Angie Clark. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My son is a student at Southern Lee High School, and I have an issue with cell phones. I've tried to contact the superintendent. I've made 2 weeks today. I've been making phone calls, trying to contact him, and today I made an effort to contact the assistant superintendent. On April 18th, his cell phone was stolen from the locker room. It was related to me through a board member that did contact him on my behalf that his cell phone was left in a locker, his book bag in an open locker room by Bonnie Almond to the superintendent, which is false. It was left in a locker in his clothes. That day, his cell phone and another cell phone was stolen. The day before, another cell phone was stolen. I had contacted the school, made several attempts. No one called me back. Went over the next day, spoke with Bonnie Almond very briefly. She was waiting on a ride. 5 or 6 cell phones had been stolen from his class in a weightlifting class within a 2-week period. I have the names. They can be verified. I went to the school, spoke with Miss Almond. She asked me to leave her contact information. I went inside, spoke with Mr. Gore. He was in the hallway, and spoke with Mr. Gore and a resource officer. Got conflicting stories. One said the locker room was locked. One said it was not locked. It was locked by his coach. It was, however, unlocked by another coach. I want some accountability. I don't think any accountability has been put on the coaches. Fast forward 2-3 weeks later, my son and the same guy who had their cell phone stolen the same day walked into the locker room and seen someone going through lockers. He again contacted his coach, who told him to contact another coach, who had him to contact Mr. Gore. Mr. Gore sent him, well, he sent him away, didn't want to hear it, told him he could talk with the resource officer. While he was attempting to talk with a resource officer with another student who was also a victim, he was interrupted by Mr. Gore with the student, brought the student to the resource officer's office and told him, does he look like a thief? My son said, yeah. He actually admitted to another student that he steals phones and sells them for, he steals them for his boss, and he has 3 track phones on him right now, and another coach in the locker room can confirm this. He was again sent away. So I immediately the next day try to call the resource officer. The extension does not work. I'll be happy to give it to anybody that needs it. It's 919-718-2401, extension 7. Does not work. If anybody would like to try it right now, Ms. Almond is aware of it. The resource officer is aware of it. Anyway, I was put on hold for quite some time. Didn't identify myself. Didn't leave a name. Didn't leave a number. They kept on putting me on hold and said Mr. Gore wanted to speak with me. I said, I don't want to speak with Mr. Gore. I want to speak with the resource officer. Well, the resource officer called me back, left a message that he was returning my call, but I never identified myself. So I was able to give him the information that my son was not able to give him. I'm just here as an advocate for my son. I want something to be done. Ninth graders are required to dress out. My son's not a ninth grader, but he is a student who enjoys PE, health and PE, weightlifting. He wants to dress out. I think that they need a safe environment where their stuff should be secure and locked up. Whether it be lunch money, car keys, cell phones, jewelry, or any other items. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to share the our vision of our school system. Lee County Schools, in partnership with the community, will provide challenging learning experience for students in a safe and supportive environment. We are committed to academic excellence, technological innovation, social responsibility, and lifelong learning. Our success will be demonstrated by the achievement of our students and their positive participation in society. And I would also like to share Policy Code 2120, which is Code of Ethics for School Board members. The board recognizes that collectively and individually, all members of the board must adhere to an accepted code of ethics. We must avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict of interest as we handle the work of the board. We must avoid the solicitation and or acceptance of gifts in return for advice or assistance on matters concerning the operation of the business of the board. We must avoid the misuse of public funds, avoid misrepresentation of falsification of facts, and avoid making confidential information public. At this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The agenda is approved. And I would also entertain a motion to approve the minutes for April the 9th, 2013.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for April the 9th, 2013.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Under announcements, I would like to remind the board that our regular board meeting will be June the 11th, and there will be a call board meeting on June the 22nd, at which time we will close out the official 2013 year. And Dr. Moss, if you would like to proceed with our school presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to call up Greenwood Elementary School to begin with, and then J.R. Ingram, unless the principals want to do it in a different order.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, Dr. Moss, members of the board. I'm Amy Petrarca. I'm the assistant principal at Greenwood, and I have with me tonight 2 veteran third grade teachers and 1 ESL teacher who work together as a team, and they want to make a presentation. I do want to share with you just a little bit of background information. The 2 third grade teachers, Candy Bladorn and Heather McBurnett, I must say that 2 years ago at this time, I was afraid that they may be seeking another profession, because as many teachers do, they were just in one of those places. It was a tough year. Burnout happens in our profession, and luckily for us, luckily for Greenwood, luckily for Lee County Schools, they decided to make a change, but to make it within their own classroom. And this year they have also included Maggie Gaines, recently Hackney, and she is an ESL teacher, and they all work together, and it's amazing to see. We started with 2 cluster groups of ESL students with these 2 teachers last year, and then they have made it into something completely different this year that's very exciting, and I won't tell you about all that. I'm sure they'll share that part, but thank you very much for having us here tonight.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time. My name is Candy Blader, and this is Heather and Maggie. We have combined our classrooms. We each have our class roles, but we've combined them together all day except for specials when they go to art and music. We have 36 kids total, and about just over 40% of them are direct serve ESL students. We tried this cluster group to see if we could better serve those students by having more teacher to student ratios. So what we have found in the last year is, since we teach third grade, we are trying to think of a way that we could possibly look at our progress that we've made this year. At the end of second grade, this bottom graph over here shows our M-class scores, and that was really the only assessment that we had that was consistent between last year and this year. At the end of last year, red and yellow are students that are considered to be below grade level. The green and the blue are students that are considered to be on or above. At the end of second grade, there were about 19 students that were below grade level and 16 that were above. Now at the end of third grade, those same students that we have 8 that are below and about 28 that are above. So we have seen that we've had success, and the reason why we did all this is because we tried a new program called Daily 5. And it's really a different type of approach to reading that gives kids more involvement. Ms. Hackney comes in for an hour and a half with us and directly pushes in with us with those ESL students. And we have a veteran with us, Ms. Higgins. She's a tutor with us that's also there for an hour and a half. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
You're the quiet one of the group.
Our students have made a video for you to let you know about their feelings about our classroom. Hopefully. They usually pop up with a play.
I like having 2 teachers because if one's sick, another one can come. I like having 2 teachers because one can be teaching and the other one can be helping us. What I like having about 2 teachers is that one can be doing stuff teaching and the other one can be doing stuff in the back, and you don't have one teacher running around like crazy. The thing I like about having 2 teachers is that one teacher can be concentrating on another thing and another teacher can be concentrating on something else. We can talk Spanish together. What I like about ESL is that you don't feel embarrassed about your language and you have your friends to communicate. We can help each other when we need help. And Daily 5 has 5 choices. That would be read a self, book club, listening to reading, working with words, and working with writing. Read a self. First you get your book box. You work on your goals and work on your book club stuff. Then you meet with a teacher for individual goals and you work on them. Book club, you meet with your teacher, get an assignment, talk about the book. Listening to reading is that you get in a website that is My Own Reader and you listen to stories. And working with words are you study your spelling words and put them on sorts. Working on reading, you work with Miss Hackney and you do some stories. This is listening to reading, and all you do is go to a website that's called My Own Reader, and you click on a book so it can read to you, and it helps us with our reading fluency. next day and discuss what the chapters that they read were all about. This is working with words, and we come here to sort our words on a plate, and sometimes we use our journal to write down our spelling words, or we use a whiteboard so we can take a spelling test to see if we know our words. This is working on writing, and Miss Hagney has taught us how to write a poem, perceptive pieces, narrative expository pieces, myth, sequencing, and newspaper articles. This is individual groups. It's where the teacher gives you a goal, and when she gives you a goal, you have 5 days to work on it, and then the next 5 days she gets you and she sees what you have done and see if you've done a good job and if you're ready to move on to a new goal. Read to Self is where you can work on your individual goals, and you might have an individual goal that's on this board, and you can read books from your book box, and you might have a book club book that you're supposed to read for an assignment, and you can read your book club books, and you can work on your goals.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I can tell you from visiting their classrooms, it's a very exciting day for students in both of the rooms, and you can see the excitement in their face and the energy, I think, that both of them deliver within the classroom. J.R. Ingram? How you doing, Miss Duffy?
Good evening. How are you all?
Fine, thanks.
I am Miss Duffy, the principal at J.R. Ingram, and we are very excited to have our students share with you this evening information about our academic leadership program. It's in its first year at Ingram, and we are looking forward to expanding it next year. And Miss Marcy Townsend is our Communities and School representative, and she has worked weekly with our students on leadership skills and has allowed them the opportunity to hold leadership roles throughout our building. So tonight they will be presenting to you some of the things that they have learned throughout the year. So I'll ask Ms. Townsend to come forward.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Like Ms. Duffy said, my name is Marcy Townsend, and I'm with Communities and Schools of Lee County. I am a site coordinator in 2 elementary schools currently, J. Glenn Edwards and J.R. Ingram. The kids have been giving me a fit all week because I'm constantly saying J. Glenn Edwards, and they have to remind Ms. Townsend that she's at J.R. Ingram sometimes. So if you hear me say Edwards, I apologize. These kids have been fantastic this year. They have really worked hard. To give you a little bit of background for Communities and Schools, one of our 5 basics is a marketable skill to use upon graduation. As we know, leadership is one of those skills. They're going to have to use after graduation in college whenever they move on to do their fantastic jobs that they're going to be fantastic at. So they are going to present our academic leadership presentation to you tonight. This is something they've been working on most of the year for. So
that we're smarter than a fifth grader.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you. Thank you.
Are you going to give us a test?
How many schools are located in Lee County?
Who wants to answer?
I'm scared I'm wrong. 15 or 16? 15 or 16?
16. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In selection 4,000, focus on students of the board policy table of contents. What is one thing that each school should strive for to create a healthy learning environment?
Clean facilities.
Ma'am?
Clean facilities. Clean schools. I tried.
How about a safe environment?
I'd say safe would be it.
Yes.
I was right. Thank you.
What is the average of students in elementary school for our district?
700.
600. 650.
650.
625. 625. He was wrong.
No, I said it's around 650.
578. What is the average of numbers of students in a fifth grade class in our district?
24.
30.
25.
30.
23.
21.
That was close.
In the world of technology, this is hands-on right here. This is very personal. So, we are using an old
Rule 2 is lead yourself before you lead others. In order to lead yourself,
Do we need to come down there, Shashi? We're just fine.
So you have to communicate clearly to get out without taking your hands out of the string.
That's a little helmet for me.
Did they get out of it?
You good out?
You didn't get out of it? I think it came
Show you
close.
how to get out of the string, communicating clearly and easy. Sometimes things get
I've got this budget. I'd like them to work on. See if they can get out of that.
Rule number 4 is establish trust. You must have a trustful heart. You must be confident. You must do what you say you are going to do. Keep your word. Be reliable. I will pass around a word, and I am going to trust you to be able to keep it around.
Okay. Pass it on. All right. Turn them here and
Both of them?
turn them up.
See what the word's like at the end.
I love this.
Susan, it's all
Susan,
on you.
it's
Yeah,
you.
that's right. You're under pressure.
Oh, no, it's more than a word.
Yeah, it's usually
They tell Shelly to do a word.
say it one time to each other. So
Jimmy.
Just like, what?
We do that in the church all the time.
Turn down the line, make sure they all had their.
Can I get one, Kenny? No? Mulligan.
Oh, God.
I said one word.
It's gonna be all messed up. Do I have to say it out loud?
I am not
Tell her what you said.
I don't really know what she said. Wobble, wobble, give the baby something. I don't know. Was that anything close?
Bubble, bubble, rubble. Give the baby some double bubble.
That was close.
Maybe
Cameron right here. Cameron wrote down.
This way.
This
You're
way?
great.
You're great.
You're great.
You're great.
What did she say?
You're great. You have to repeat after her.
You're
You have to tell me how great I am.
Oh, you are great. Everybody knows that.
You're great.
You're great.
You're great.
You're great. Great.
You're awesome.
You're awesome.
And you can do anything you put your mind to.
You can do anything you put your mind to.
Now do you feel motivated?
Absolutely. Yay.
One thing, this is just a glimpse into our 30 minutes that we have together every week. And it's just as amusing in the classroom as it is right now. We have fun, but we know that we have to be serious also. So these kids have done some phenomenal jobs, and I'm very proud of them because they set themselves apart from the others, and they know what they have to do to set themselves apart. And at any time during their day, whether they're at school, at home, or out in our community, they know that they have to follow these 5 rules of leadership, because you never know who's watching you or who's going to be observing your behavior. So they know that that's important. One thing I didn't do whenever we started was introduce our kids. I want to do that now before we close. My young man at the end right here, will you stand up? This is Mr. Terry, Mr. Ricky, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Thomas, aka Thor, Mr. Shashir, Miss Alyssa, Miss Ashley, and Miss Josephine. So they have worked very hard, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. Occasionally, we have board retreats, a piece of which is to help us understand how to better function as a board. Maybe we'll just hire this group next year. Mr. Jackson, would you like my job? It's easy. You could do it in a heartbeat. That's true. But the pay's not very good. Dr. Moss, if you would continue with the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dr. Atkinson is not here tonight. If we will keep his father in our prayers, his father was moved into ICU today. So, as you know, he's one of the providers for his father, and just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. So, it's my pleasure to introduce the Clean School winner, and that is Deep River Elementary School. And I'm looking around, and I don't think any of them are here, and that might be because usually Dr. Atkinson tells them. But as you know, Deep River is not a stranger to the Clean School Award. So I will call the names of the custodians out: Harold Campbell, Joyce Williams, and Avis Blue. And Deep River had a score of 99.
Wow.
About as close to perfect as you can get. We had every school in the 90s with the exception of 2. So as you can tell, our custodians and our maintenance staff do an outstanding job keeping our facilities clean and extending their life. So if you just join me in recognizing Deep River, and we'll give them their cards and their plaque later on. And I'll call on Sharon Spence to recognize our web page of the month.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight our last web page winner of the year, since next month's meeting will be on a work day, and we also want to do the drawing that we do. Everyone whose classroom or department was submitted for nomination throughout the year is eligible to be put into a drawing for a small piece of technology that recognizes their hard work. So we'll do that, and then we'll announce that winner before everybody goes home from school. But tonight, our web page winner is another group effort, as we did last month. It is the school counselors page at Eastleigh Middle School, and Rebecca Harris and Katie Beck are our counselors at Eastleigh, and they're going to take you through their webpage in just a minute, but let me share with you what the judges said. Their webpage has an attractive visual layout so that visitors can quickly find what they're looking for. Its professional design helps keep navigation consistent from page to page to avoid any confusion or missing links. The website offers up-to-date information that is unique and interesting while serving the needs of Eastleigh staff, parents, and students. So congratulations to the two of you, and thank you for all your hard work. It's an excellent website. So I would just invite you to walk the board through.
All right. As Katie gets our webpage pulled up, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of both of us, first and foremost. This year, what we wanted to do with our webpage was make it very informative for not only our students, but for our parents, our staff, and our community members as well. Last year, we worked together to create newsletters to send home, but with the laptop initiative and kids being able to take them home, we figured this was a good way to really spread what we're doing and what we have going on at Eastleigh. So, our first page, we just have a bright, sunny welcome page for everyone. Our next page is the news and upcoming events. We try to update this on a weekly basis to include different things we have going on at East within the counseling department. A few things, we've got testing coming up. We just celebrated Month of the Military Child in April. We include pictures of our students of the month, students that are going to LEC next year, 5th grade tours, career week, just whatever we have going on, we try to have that represented. We also have a character trait each month called our Student of the Month program, where we recognize students. This page shows that that's wrapped up for the school year, but encourages students to work towards becoming a Student of the Month next year. And then we have some basic information about the two of us and which teams we serve, how to get in touch with us, and some of the basic counseling services that we offer at Eastleigh. The next three things are student programs, opportunities for students, and opportunities for parents. And these basically cover, again, the opportunities that we have for our students. Katie does a really good job of finding different programs inside the school and outside the school, or through our community and elsewhere that are going on, and shares those on the opportunities for students page. And we try to do the same with opportunities for parents as well. This year, for the first time, we created the Rising Rockets page, which is for our 5th graders that are coming to Eastleigh next year, in an effort to introduce them to some of the frequently asked questions, tips for succeeding in middle school, that kind of stuff. And then we wrap up with our photo gallery, helpful links, and also a visitor feedback page, because we want to hear back and see if our web page is helpful and useful to others. Anything you want to add?
And can you go back to, I think it was the opportunities for students, you had a link in there on bullying. If you could show the board where that link might take them. I think it's before, it was, might have been counseling services. The bullying prevention. Is it linked to something?
It shouldn't be.
Okay. I didn't know since it was just
Okay. I'm not sure
underlined.
why it's showing up as blue. But that's something we try to focus on, especially we do it throughout the year, but especially in October for Bullying Prevention Month. Yes, and we also have a link for Bully Busters under our helpful links page. So I think that's it. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. We can now continue with committee reports. I would
Mr.
like
Chairman,
to,
I still had a couple other things.
Sorry, I cut you off.
That's all right. You'll find in your attachments the North Carolina Virtual Public School report card for Lee County Schools. What I think you would find impressive is when you look at the grade distribution of our student participation, you can see 8th grade participation is 208 students. You also see the courses, the types of courses that are administered through the North Carolina Virtual Public Schools to our students. When you look at our enrollment, the average for all districts is 284 students. Our enrollment is currently 523. So we more than double the enrollment average across the state. Our pass rates are about the same and our completion rates are about the same. And the percent of our ADM involved is a little bit higher than the average for all the districts. So I think all in all that's a great statement for our teachers and our principals that incorporate virtual public school as an area of focus. I'd also like to recognize two of our own. Sharon Spence has recently been nominated as the Vice President for the North Carolina School Personnel Public Relations Association. And Glenda Jones is the President of PANC, Personnel Administrators of North Carolina. We also have, and Susan, is the surplus not on the agenda? Is that why I need to bring it up?
No, it's on the agenda.
Okay.
It's on the agenda.
Then the last thing I want to bring up, today Dr. Smith and I attended the House Education Committee session in Raleigh. House Bill 491 was the discussion piece that involves school resource officers for Lee County. Both of us were allowed to speak. We spoke, but the report did come out of committee with a favorable vote. This being the week of crossover, they have supplemental agendas, and it actually passed the House today. So it's headed to the Senate. If it passes the Senate and the governor signs it into law, just to let the board know, you will need to terminate the employment of all of your school resource officers by July 1st. And I think it's only fair to let the school resource officers know that this far in advance so that they can start to plan accordingly if it is passed into law, because it would be effective July 1st, 2013. Decided to end on a happy note.
Thank you. Having said that, let's proceed with committee reports. I would like to begin with Dr. Linda Smith and ask her to report on the ad hoc committee that is given the task of nominating someone to serve on the Board of Trustees at the community college.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Mr. Cameron Sharp and I met on yesterday afternoon to review all of the applicants for the Board of Trustees of Central Carolina Community College. We had 5 applicants, and we did narrow the number to 3, and we will be interviewing these applicants next Wednesday beginning at 4:30. And hopefully, like I said, we'll have an applicant to present to the board for the June meeting. Okay.
And while you have the floor, if you would continue with the report from Curriculum Instruction Committee.
The high school C&I met April the 10th at Southern Lee, and I'd just like to share a few of the highlights of that meeting. Mr. Steve Brown, the development director for the Southern Region NAF Academy, shared some brief comments with the C&I. His comments were praiseworthy for the administration and staff for their hard work and due diligence. He was not shy when talking about the rigorous NAF program process. However, he did say that Southern Lee was meeting the challenge. and he commented that there was very little work needed to be done for the continuance of the program. And Dr. Bryan announced the upcoming Volunteer Lee event for April the 30th. Mr. Ron Hewitt has created a volunteer network matching nonprofit groups in schools. And, oops, that just went away. Alrighty. Okay, be right back with you. How do I do that? That went away today. Okay, hold on. All right, I'm back. And volunteers will visit 5th grade classrooms to listen to students read Last Days of Lincoln. And Dr. Poltrock commented on Common Core. She gave an overview of the train-the-trainer models. And I keep hitting something here, and it keeps going away. She gave brief comments about the North Carolina Department of Instruction looking at the honors level courses. She said the process would be the same, that is the 3 categories, performance, rigor, and compiling a portfolio. And she also highlighted the high school math requirements for graduation. The high school principals were complimentary of their staff at that C&I meeting. Now, this was the last scheduled high school C&I meeting, but I think there will be a call C&I meeting before the June Board of Education meeting. The middle school C&I met April the 24th at Eastleigh, and Dr. Bryan informed the committee that Lee County High School has been approved to start the International Baccalaureate program process for the 2014 school year. The IB program does not replace the AP program. It steps to another level because it is a research-based program. Cindy Johnson gave a brief update of the digital transmission service pilot program that has been expanded from Wesley to Eastleigh, with the rollout to happen very soon. And Cynthia Wicker gave an update on the assessment training workshop offered through RESA. Tamara Brogan updated the committee on the ongoing work and research being conducted on choice schools. And I don't know what has happened every time on that one. And the C&I committee members provided helpful suggestions and asked questions that will be taken into consideration for future implementation. And Dr. Moss commended our teachers for the rigorous instruction and care that they use in preparing our students for the future. And the middle school STEM Robotic Challenge was scheduled that afternoon at 5 o'clock at the Dennis Wicker Civic Center. And this was the last scheduled middle school C&I. And the elementary C&I will be meeting on tomorrow. Okay.
Mr. Marty, facilities and technology, please.
Mr. Chairman, Facilities and Technology did not meet this past month, and our next scheduled meeting is on the 28th.
Mr. Akanosho, Finance, please.
We didn't have any meeting last month, but we'll be having a meeting on the 30th of May, next meeting.
Mr. Sharp, Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our last policy committee meeting was held on April 23rd. We went over a number of policy changes that are on for first reading tonight. And our next policy meeting will be May 21st at 5 p.m.
And I would like to recognize Mrs. Brogan. She has spent a considerable amount of time in the state legislature recently, and I thought she might give us an update on her observations from the legislature.
Thank you, Chairman. I went up on April 30th and talked with some legislators that day. My first appointment was with Senator Rabin, who is our local senator who represents us. I talked about a few different bills, the local bills that we passed a resolution against, I believe it was last month, House Bill 490, 491. 491 is the one I believe that passed this afternoon, and 512, asking him not to support those bills and to remind him about our resolution. We also talked about Senate Bill 374, which is the North Carolina Public Schools Budget Flexibility Act. We talked that into some discussion about that bill, and I believe that is the one. There's so many bills out there with numbers that it can get a little overwhelming, so bear with me, but that is the one that will that takes away the school board's ability to sue county commissioners. I believe I'm correct on that. So we discussed that bill in some detail. We also talked about Senate Bill 236, which is the bill that would give ownership of school property to the county commissioners. I did talk in opposition about that bill as well as the 374 bill. And we also talked about the Excellent Public Schools Act of 2013, which is Senate Bill 361, which would put our schools on a grading system from A through F. We talked about that bill and compared it with the House version of that bill, which is 719. Let's see. I also met with Representative Chuck McGrady, who is one of the chairs of the House Education Appropriations Committee, and we talked about the budget. That was a very good conversation. I expressed my concerns about the budget cuts that we're going to be facing this year and how I'm concerned about how that's going to affect us to be able to provide a good education for our children. So I really hit that pretty hard. I was very concerned about the cuts we're going to be facing. I also brought up about teachers. I was talked to him about how our teachers need to have a raise and that they're having so much more work put on them, but they're not getting paid as professionals, and we need to treat them as such. And so I did advocate for our teachers as well as our children in that discussion and asked him to take it easy on us with the budget cuts. I believe that day the numbers had not come out yet when I met with him. So they heard through the grapevine that there might be some extra revenue. Not sure how that turned out because I haven't talked to him since then. But hopefully it'll be a little more favorable with some extra revenue coming in, and that might be more positive for us down the road. So I did state my concerns about the budget cuts to him in great detail and length. Let's see. I also saw Representative Deb McManus. However, I did not get to see her. She was there was a lot of extra meetings that they had packed in that day, so I was scheduled to meet her, but I did not get to see her. I did talk to Representative Ed Haynes. He's one of the primary sponsors of the House Bill 944, which is the voucher bill. So we talked about that in great length, and I expressed my concerns about that bill as well. And my final meeting was with Representative Justin Burr. He was one of the primary sponsors of House Bill 935, which is the North Carolina pre-K bill. So we talked in great length about that. I basically felt that he understood my points. I do think that he wants what's best for the pre-K population, but I felt like we were coming at it from two different points of view on that. But I did state my concerns about that bill, and we had a good discussion on it. And let's see, I want to go back real quick because I just might need to. Okay, I'm sorry, I mentioned the wrong number. It's Senate Bill 674 that would not allow the school board to take the Board of Commissioners to court for funding if we needed to. So that was how that day went. I felt like it was pretty productive. We had a lot of good dialogue, and I did express my concerns at great length and basically just was upfront and honest with them about my concerns as a local school board member about how these bills are going to affect us on a local level. So hopefully they were listening, but I felt like there was some good dialogue. I felt it was a day well spent up at the legislature.
Thank you for the report, and thank you for the time you spent on our behalf in the legislature. Before we proceed, I would like to inform the board of a special honor that has come our way. Our own Dr. Moss has been selected as Superintendent of the Year by the Regional Education Consortium, of which we're a member, and he will be proposed as Superintendent of the Year next year for this year. Unfortunately, he'll be leaving us, so we won't be able to pursue that, but I thought it was a great honor to be selected by IRESA as Superintendent of the Year.
Very good.
this point, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The agenda is approved. We can move on to unfinished business. Mr. Sharp, would you like to make a presentation on second reading of the board policies?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is pertaining to policy 4150, school assignments, reassignments, and transfers. I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the second reading of policy 4150.
And that is coming from committee, so it does not require a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The board policy is approved. Under new business, we'll proceed with the Lee County auction. Is there a motion to approve the auction as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the auction as presented.
With the attached resolution, yes. And is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the resolution? I assume everybody has a list of auction items. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I will also entertain a motion at this point to approve the 2013-2014 budget book that's at your desk.
I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the 2013-14 budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the budget book? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign. The budget book is approved. And Mr. Sharp, if you would proceed with board policy first reading, and that's part 2. We just separate that into part 2, part 1 and part 2 because the amount of material that had to be put on the website.
Yes, it's 22 policies that will be on for first reading, and I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the first reading of the following policies: 1310-4002, 1740, 4010, 1750, 7220, 3000, 3100, 3115, 3120, 3200, 3410, 3420, 3460, 3510, 4135, 4400, 7100, 7130, 7240, 7430, 7520, 7810, 8730, and 9200.
And this is also coming from committee, so it would not require a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if it would be possible, because of the amount of the number of policies, and a lot of them are more editorial in nature, and some are more substantive in nature. If in the future we could possibly group those together, because when you have the number of policies to review that we had, you spend a lot of time going through, and they may be changing punctuation, they may be changing will to shall, or that kind of thing. It would make it a little easier to so we could focus on those that are more substantive than editorial in nature. And I also have just a few questions about a couple of the policies also. 3410 testing and assessment program. I just wondered if maybe we could, maybe Dr. Bryan could provide some, information as to whether is this a change in anything that we're currently doing, or maybe what impact this will have.
Policy 3410 has to do with common exams, sometimes called, previously called MSLs, where teachers in areas besides EOG and EOCs are tested. And what this policy does, it outlines the procedures for us in that testing administration. And what it does is sort of repeats what has happened just recently this year with EOGs and EOCs. There are no longer any retests with EOGs and EOCs, and there are also no retests for common exams. So that outlines that with the policy. The only time there can be a retest is if there's a misadministration, whether it's with common exams or EOGs, end of grade tests, and end of course tests. So it outlines those procedures for our school district. 3420 looks at summer school. The new legislative sort of declaration regarding third graders and the ability to read, and tying that all to promotion standards into fourth grade, and the requirement for a summer camp for reading, which extends a pretty long period of time into the summer, which has not been accompanied by funding for that, but does require that for the reading for students. It outlines those procedures for that.
Thank you. And I do have one other question on policy 7130 concerning licensors, and again, just to get some information as to will this precipitate a change in our procedures that we have been operating on?
Mr. Bernardi, I believe your question is on the section that was added on the very first page under license conversion.
Yes.
And really what that does is actually specify that license decisions are not appealable at the local level, but at the local level, I am the designee for the superintendent in ensuring that those teachers in year 3 that are converted from their beginning teacher license into their SP2 licensure, I'm that individual for ensuring that, one, they are proficient in all 5 standards, and if they're not, then I have to let the state know that. I also am obligated to, if they issue a license that's incorrect at the state level, I'm obligated to let them know that they've issued one and that teacher didn't actually teach for 3 years. Or if there's some violation of the North Carolina Teacher Code of Ethics that I'm aware of that this individual violated, then I am obligated to share that. And it's not any different than what we've been doing. The state is just getting well, I shouldn't even say the state, the School Board Association is really starting to assist districts by clarifying some of the things that are just, we've automatically done and been responsible for doing, but now they're including those in policy, which is good, because then we can just fall back on that and just, instead of just always going back to the state board policy, we can say not only is it in state board policy, but it's also in our local board policy.
Right.
Was that the only one you had questions about?
Yes.
Any others?
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. The board policies are approved for first reading. And Mr. Bernardi, if you'd make the motion, we will proceed with closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Lee County Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of discussing information that is privileged, confidential, or not a public record under NCGS Section 143318.11A1.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn to closed session.